Good evening, folks. It is Thursday evening. It is 8 p.m. Eastern. It is time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast, and we have some stuff to get into this week. We got some new champions that were crowned last weekend at Saturday night's main event. CM Punk is a champion. Jade Cargill is a champion. We'll take a look at that and what that means for the state of WWE. We got a developing story with Ridge Holland and his contract and a GoFundMe and injuries. All kinds of stuff going on there that we're going to talk about tonight. And Blood and Guts returns to AEW next week with the addition of the ladies, which is interesting to me. So we're going to talk about that and so much more, folks. Get ready. Your Big Old Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt. All I really want is that Big Old Belt, 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 Big Old Belt. All I really need, that Big Old Belt.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here tonight for the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, Season 5, Episode 40 tonight. Yes, the numbers are getting larger as we get closer to the end of the year. I am Will in the center of your screen. To my left is Silly Celis, and on the right side of the screen is the Giant Crab Jamal. Guys, how are you all doing this week?
Man, not bad.
Doing good as well.
It may snow Monday.
No,
Really?
seriously? No, really?
I'm like, number one, you don't ever joke about snow here.
No, you don't.
You don't. But yeah, snow showers is the early word that I'm hearing. Whether it happens or not depends on where you live. But yeah, we could get a flurry or two Monday at some point. So I'm very excited. That means get your bread, milk, and toilet paper now. Repent, bitches. It's all over. But yeah, that's the early word. So I doubt if it'll happen, but just to hear snow is very exciting.
Yeah, this early for the DC area is
Very.
unusual to be hearing it before Thanksgiving. Even. So yeah, definitely we'll keep our eyes on that because who knows? Maybe something, may not be something, but wherever you are all in the world, we are getting closer to snow season. So hope you all are staying warm and all that good stuff. Let's talk about Saturday night's main event last weekend in Salt Lake City, Utah. The two most notable things coming out of the show is we have two new champions. They didn't really do much in the way of angles on this show. It was pretty much just, here's some matches. We're keeping this thing 2 hours. We're up against Game 7 of the World Series. It very much felt like a get the show done, get the hell out of the way. And the big news coming out of it is CM Punk is now the World Heavyweight Champion. And more interesting for me, Jade Cargill is now the SmackDown Women's Champion. And the interesting part for me is they had her go over Tiffany Stratton in a very dominating fashion. And that's what I think jumped out. It was like, oh, this is kind of a Goldberg Jade. They weren't playing around with how they did this. There was an emphatic win for Jade Cargill. So that was more interesting to me than CM Punk getting strapped up. Celis, I guess you get in here first. Thoughts on CM Punk as champ and Jade as champion?
So I'll start with CM Punk. That's a little bit easier. I think CM Punk had to be the champion because you needed some type of strong personality, strong face, strong name that you have that could carry over this title, whatever you want to do with it, and gives you time to say, okay, let's prepare for a Survivor Series. Let's prepare for the Royal Rumble season as we go into WrestleMania, because you have to do a little reset based on the Raw roster of how you want to use this World Heavyweight title. Now, of course, there's going to be some rumors of people returning that may be heels that you can kind of build up, because you do have Gunther that had the last match with CM Punk that when Gunther was hurt or is recovering from his injuries, that was, put off, so that you can bring that back. Or is it time that you could bring up somebody new from NXT that if you're going to do these call-ups, once again, using the soft reset? So I think it was the best way you had to do it. With Jey Uso, he already has some mingling storylines that he has with his brother and LA Knight and things of that nature, or with the Vision. And I think you want to keep this title away from the Vision right now, because you want to build up what they're going to do with, Bronson Reed, or, whatever the chances they want to do with just that whole stable of the Vision of what you want to do. So I think just using it as a reset. Now for Jade Cargill, I think this is probably the safest way that you had to do in switching the titles, because Tiffany really had nobody else that she could fight. It was no other person, if she would have beat Jade, that she could have compete with. But when you have Jade, it's also another reset as well, where the best work that she has that most people are familiar with in AEW are going to be, we know what she was a heel. So how do you bring that to WWE, make more fans see that on the WWE side? And then once again, you got people that are faces that are scheduled to probably return, like a Bianca Belair, or if you want to build up some people from NXT. So in a way, I kind of spoken to it. You kind of have a reset on both sides where it was fine. I think the match that you had to do with Tiffany, just in case you keep her off a while, was doing it in this type of way, but I don't think it made her look weak. But I think the biggest thing for CM Punk, you're going to lead up to Braun Breaker, becoming somebody that's going to be that contender moving forward, maybe around WrestleMania season, or if you keep on pushing it back to Money in the Bank.
I'm trying to remember, Crab, when we talked last week, I think we were all on the side of Jey Uso as champion would be way more interesting than CM Punk as champion. I think
right.
What we were all. Yeah, and here we go. We got the opposite of that. And they didn't do a flip of the script. They didn't turn anybody. It's just, we're making CM Punk champ. So I came out of it already just kind of like, meh. Because we were like, I don't know. We all were talking Jey Uso last week.
Well, this is exactly why. And coming out of it, you're kind of like, well, okay. But to be fair, in hindsight, Saturday night's main event, glorified house show, or fine. And you got to think that no, let's just counter program AEW Collision. They're building towards their pay-per-view. They got a special attraction match coming up next week, and then Full Gear is in 2 weeks, or like just after Thanksgiving, I think. We can counter program them once to take the heat off of them as they're building. Oh, wait a minute. There's another game in Toronto. Oh, crap. Well, so
I did them no favors.
Yeah, but I think that's probably that's part of it. But it goes back. This is exactly why we thought what we thought last week. And what does the title do for Punk? Not much. Now that he has it, do you really feel more encouraged to watch? Well, not really. So not necessarily not told you so, but that's kind of why we were along the same lines last week.
Yeah. Jade Cargill getting strapped up is definitely the more intriguing deal. And for me, I think here's the thing with Jade Cargill as champ. I hope they keep this deal going where she killed Tiffany Stratton. They flipped the script. She's a heel now for the first time in WWE. Let's have Jade just kill people. Have her be champ and have her just run through people. I'm not really interested right now in seeing her having competitive matches. I want Jade to be a monster for the foreseeable future. And we can build up to her, having a big challenger down the road. But right now, I want to see Jade kill some people. That's how I'm feeling.
Well, that's kind of what she has to do because, whether it was AEW, which seems like a lifetime ago, or her run in WWE, people see Jade as the superhero, as the Hulk, as Storm, and not necessarily as somebody that is going to give you a 25-minute long match. Now you want to see Black Wonder Woman beat the piss out of somebody, and convincingly.
Not Storm, just Black Wonder Woman, not Storm anymore, right?
Oh, I mean all of them. All of them. All of them. But still, you want to see her, just beat the hell out of people, and until she evolves past that. Because that's what it was. Even in AEW, the gimmick was, oh my God, she's cut out of, ivory and granite. This is crazy.
Yeah.
How can a woman look like that in public? Oh shit, she's not AI. Oh, okay. This is let's run with this. And
it's a real life action figure.
Exactly. And then now it's just like, okay, cool. Now that we've seen that, and even still, she's still one of one in that regard. Now what? And until that side of it develops a little bit more, that's kind of where she is now. That's where she was in AEW, and hopefully the wrestling catches up with the gimmick. And then once that does, then get out of her way. She's going to be on a generational run, but she has the look.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been in question. It's just that can she, develop her wrestling acumen. And if she doesn't, then she still has the look. And, Hulk smash.
Yeah. It's an easy formula.
Yeah.
It's an easy formula to run with for now. And that's my thought on it. Is like, they don't need to overthink Jade getting strapped up right now. Her first belt, her first heel turn in WWE. Just let it be what it should be. Paint by numbers at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on Saturday night's main event? That's all I hauled.
I mean, it was what it was. They got rid of it. They got through it. And it's on to Survivor Series in a couple weeks, and then of course it's on to the next Saturday night with this Cena's last match of the month.
Yep.
That's our roadmap for the remainder of 2025.
Yeah. So once they do that, then they'll move into the Rumble, and now we can finally, because Triple H said, like, was it either yesterday or the day before? We're in a new era again. Things are going to change again. You haven't seen anything like this before again. And I've long since stopped believing him when he says these things, but it's just like, okay, you got to get through this next. At first it was 12 weeks, 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. Now we're down to 4 weeks. Yeah. I'm willing to concede the next month of just, paint by numbers, WWE programming. But the Monday after that Saturday night's main event, you gotta
gun ho WrestleMania season.
Something before the holidays hit, and then when you come back from the holidays, then it's like pedal to the metal. Start shaking things up.
Right.
That's a conversation for another time. We'll save that because, like you said, we got weeks to go before we get into all that. Let's switch gears to a more complicated story. Now, this is kind of evolving as we're talking, since stuff dropped with this today. Ridge Holland and his injury situation, his contract status, and everything that's going on with him. I'm going to try to give an overview here first before we get into the details. So, I guess in September it was. Let me pull this up here. Ridge Holland worked a TNA show against Moose in September, where he suffered a foot injury that required surgery. Okay. And he was already apparently on a contract with WWE that would not be renewed when it expired on November 14th, so next week. So he knew his deal was up. He had already had that main roster run. They'd been using him in NXT. He was renewed last year to a smaller deal and for 1 year. And that deal was coming due in a week from now, November 14th. And word was already out, not going to be renewed. So he gets his injury on a TNA show that he was sent to as part of the NXT TNA deal. And the foot injury. Injury rehab will be paid for by WWE, as things usually are. But there's the wrinkle of the contract is still coming up. And man can't wrestle because he has an injured foot. So he went to social media yesterday and made this post. I'll quote from the post here. Quote, "I never thought I'd not be able to pay my mortgage. I feel like I've just been hung out to dry after getting injured working for another company on behalf of WWE. Add to that my contract not being renewed, knowing that I wouldn't be able to wrestle for 7 months. This is brutal. Yes, they are taking care of the surgery and physical therapy, but let's be honest, that's the bare minimum after what we sacrificed for the company. Plus the possibility of having to get my neck fused too. Talk about getting totally fucked." End quote. Put that up yesterday. Other shoe apparently dropped later in the day. Since he put that up and went public with that, WWE took that as a breach of contract since he publicly disparaged the company. And so instead of waiting until next week for the contract to end, they just went ahead and did it now. So deal's done. That's that. And a GoFundMe went up this afternoon trying to raise $60,000 for him on behalf of someone else. I'm not quite sure who. Susan Chapman posted it. Currently at, let me give it a refresh. The GoFundMe is currently at just over $6,000 as we speak to this. So it's kind of an odd situation. We have an injury, we had a contract that was coming due, and all this. So people got lots of feelings on this one. And I think it comes down in the end, the big kind of question here is, what does WWE owe Ridge Holland? I mean, there's a lot. Something, nothing, everything. I mean, I don't know. It's got a lot of ways to look at this here. So, Celis, I'll go to you first. it's a messy situation. I think is the easiest, simple way to put it.
So let me start by saying this question, and I'm not trying to use this to bash Rich Holland, but I just want to make this a clarification. If I remember correctly, he's the one that kind of put Big E on the shelf, right?
Yes, he's the one who was involved in that match.
And he was involved in that match, and Big E got hurt and hasn't wrestled since. He's been on TV, great, but he hasn't wrestled since because of the neck injury that he displayed. And the reason why I bring that out is when you go into a profession like this, whether it's professional wrestling or some type of sport where physical contact takes place and you get hurt, injuries are always at risk for you to get hurt. And I hope nobody ever gets injured, but it's always a chance. When you're part of NXT, which NXT has to deal with TNA, it's one of those things that's always in some contracts or some type of postings when your job is, and sometimes it's other duties as assigned. And sometimes those other duties as assigned could be wrestling another promotion as you're trying to build up something as you represent one part of two promotions getting together, where he unfortunately got hurt. It's very unfortunate that, similar to what goes on in union deals for pro sports and things of that nature, you'll get your high money makers that may get everything taken care of. They get the big money, they get the big travel dues and stuff like that. But Rich Holland was probably not one of those top people that got that benefit. Yes, of course, he's probably appreciative that, WWE has taken care of his surgery and things of that nature, because that's another tale about medical benefits that goes in pro sports or pro wrestling, but that was taken care of. But I think he's just a little bit adding of being salty because he didn't get the opportunity he thought he was with his dream job. So does WWE owe him anything? From the business model, I'm going to take something like Crab. WWE wants to sign you because they think you have talent, but it's up to you to make sure you make WWE look good by pushing you up there. And if you didn't do enough in their eyes to push you up there to that top person to make that top money, then they're not going to promote you. And CM Punk is a good story with that, because he was fighting for a long time about how come he wasn't that main event guy. So does WWE owe him anything? Not necessarily. Could you say WWE, could they have faulted but not give him a fair opportunity to be in main event or mid-card programs? Possibly. But once again, sometimes when you're in a company like that, you have to compete your way to a spot, and there's only one person that gets that top spot. And if you're not getting it, you're trying to scratch and claw and do what you need to do. But sometimes it always doesn't end up. But it's sad to say, but I don't think WWE owes him anything.
Crab, get in here. We were talking about this before we went on the air. So you got thoughts. I know this.
It's an interesting double standard, because it makes me think, well, in a different universe, Owen Hart is still alive. In a different universe, Owen Hart is still bothered by his injured neck from that power driver that he gave to Steve Austin. Actually, I got it backwards. Owen Hart gave Steve Austin a bad power driver and broke his neck.
Correct.
If Austin couldn't work after that, or his contract was going to be expired during his medical leave, yeah, that's one thing. And we've also seen how WWE will extend a contract indefinitely, or stop a contract, or stop your time served, if to keep you until your contract is over.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just because. So it is interesting that he takes to social media and says that, thanks, but also there's some bullshit because my rent's due next week.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? And to that, someone could very callously say, well, my rent is also due on the 30th, on the 1st. I still have 25 days to pay my rent. Welcome to the club, dude. Now, it's interesting because I'm looking through his tweets, and he does say, hey, from November 14th, I will be available for bookings and interviews and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So this isn't even like the black trash bag situation where all of a sudden people were being let go. Your stuff's thrown in the black trash bag with your name tag on it. Good luck. We called an Uber for you to get the hell out of the building.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a moral side to it, but there is no morality in business. WWE,
especially not in pro wrestling.
Goddamn right. Ask Gator. But there is no morality in business. It's easy to celebrate the highs when you're dancing with the devil, and then be mad at that same devil for being the devil that you know.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of like the double-edged sword about it. And then there's the level of double standard that comes with it, because people want to bring up the Big E thing. People want to bring up, other people, Rick Rude, Sting. People want to bring up, whoever, whatever the situation is, somebody got injured by somebody. If that's the case, people should be demanding reparations from Nia Jax, for example, or
blessing them for making their careers.
Well, there's that too. But it is kind of to the point of like the business that you're in is inherently dangerous. And the difference between the WWE and the NFL or hockey or basketball is that they don't have a union to fight for them.
Right.
So, yes, Rich Holland is certainly not the first, and he definitely won't be the last guy who had the rug pulled out from him, whether it was a corporate thing or an injury thing or some combination of both. But the difference between him and Joe Theismann getting his legs broken by Lawrence Taylor is, well, the union has set up a retirement fund for him, or the union manages your 401k, or the union does these things that you guys want them to do because it's your employer's union that doesn't exist in wrestling.
Yeah.
So I know that that's like a hell of a leap, and it is kind of a little bit accusatory to say, well, hey, you signed up for the job, you got hurt, and you're blaming, the people for not fully taking care of you when your contract expired, and the contract expired and you knew about it. So do we give WWE a pass for not just black trash bagging this shit and saying, go ahead, get out? Like they've done callously for so many people this year, where we thought that they had a career in WWE, and then they learned on Twitter, they learned on Instagram that they actually don't, and now the key card doesn't work in Connecticut. And that's just the stuff that we know. Like, we are not on the road with them. We're not booking their rental cars or hotels or booking their ring gear and stuff like that, making the towns and hoping that you can make enough money to get something to eat and stuff like that. We definitely have been around enough independent wrestlers to know that, the shit is a constant grind on everything of your existence. And I know that personally, wrestlers have reached out from coming to a show here in the DC area. Yeah, man, TSA took my this. Can anybody help me out? And we've gone and picked up a care package at Walgreens for the guys coming into town as a thank you for coming in. So to Ridge Holland, it's he'll make it. He'll make it. Karrion Kross will make it. But on the other side of it, it's got to be something bigger than this, because unfortunately, there will be another Rich Holland that's sitting on the shelf injured that will have to provide well after the fact that their career with that main company's going. And that's the saddest part about it. The dude is kind of saying, hey, WWE, what gives? When realistically, they're the wolf that you're trying to get back into. The shit should be better. And he's not necessarily begging for his job back or anything like that, not even close, but it is still kind of like, damn, man, this is fucked.
Why aren't you taking care of me while I'm on the shelf here, even though my deal is done? And that's what it's like. He's kind of a victim of circumstance, because we got Seth Rollins on the other hand with this injury, saying he's going to be out 6 months, and I guarantee if his contract was up, oh no, they like you said, they'd be freezing that. They wouldn't be letting him out of that deal. They'd be like, if there was any danger of someone of value who might jump to the other side, oh no, that contract is getting locked. And that's the difference here. It's like, they ain't sweating Ridge Holland. So they're like, okay, no, the contract deal's up. We will let the time run out, and it is what it is. And it's a complicated situation, because we got the contract was coming due.
Yeah.
He knew that. He had been told he wasn't going to be renewed. So I'm sure from their perspective, they're like, you knew the score. You knew you needed to prepare for your future.
Right.
How are we responsible for that when, that's anybody? I mean, heck, we're here in the DC area.
Yep.
Talking about story on the show. Like, how many people do we know here in the DC area right now that are victims of a situation with the federal government?
It's still
who
going
are
on.
not getting a check right now
Yeah, I'm looking
for
at
a
one
good
right
number
now.
of weeks. There's a lot of people out here who are not getting paid due to circumstances they personally have no control over. It's a pretty common story as we're here in late in 2025.
But it also has to be better than this because, like, as much as we talk about wrestling itself, as much as we talk about wrestlers itself and the inherent knowledge that it is it is a 23-hour-a-day job. And I only say 23 and not 24 is because hopefully throughout the day you'll get 15 minutes of sleep at a time. But what we don't talk about is like financial literacy and how wrestlers should be able to start other avenues, except for just the typical, okay, well, I can sign some merch or I can sell my gear or I can, we've seen a lot of that. But what we're not seeing is, well, are you putting money away in a rainy day fund for when you get injured?
Yeah.
Do you have adequate health insurance to cover said injury? You are a high-risk guy in a high-risk environment that needs high-risk coverage. Are you prepared for that? Because you don't work for WWE anymore come the 14th. Once they pay, at what point does their obligation stop? They pay for your surgery. They're going to pay for your physical therapy. Will they just pay the doctor off and say, hey, yo, clear him. Clear him before Christmas so he can get the fuck on?
And just to add to that, I know Chris Van Fleet had an interview with Natalia, and just even hear this, just talk about the flip side of what you were just talking about, Crab, and how Tyson Kidd, how he got hurt, right?
Yeah.
And very similar to him, wrestling was his whole life. Like, this is all he wanted to do, but he tried to figure out other ways, like, okay, I need to be in the locker room with the boys. I need to do this. I'm going to figure out how to be a producer. I'm going to figure out so what other avenues are you maneuvering yourself? And once again, this is just that financial literacy part that the conversations are not prevalent enough. And I would even say it starts in schools, right? Where we don't have enough of those conversations about how do you prepare yourself for life? So like a 20% of your check, are you supposed to save that and only spend 20 or invest 10? What are you doing as that next step? It shouldn't be about what you're doing now. It should be about what you're doing the next step to help prepare you for this. But of course, going to what you said, well, about, the government shutdowns and things of that nature that's affecting people early, that's not necessarily our fault that anybody can control. And it's very sensitive to that matter. But if you're an industry where you're dealing with you're paid based off performance or entertainment or how you do to elevate, you got to make sure you maneuver yourself that if something happens, what can I do?
Now the other side of that is, and that's something that we haven't mentioned, WWE is a multi-billion-dollar a year earning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not just spending, but earning multiple billion dollars a year.
Every show we're hearing record profits, record gains.
Triple H just said that everything is up. Like, don't wonder, it's up.
Yeah, and that's why people getting fired up about it. People are like, they're making all this money, they should take care of him.
ESPN is loves their collaboration with WWE.
Yep.
Netflix is extremely pleased. The Saudi government can't wait for WrestleMania. Apparently $7-ish million went into investing into WWE from Vegas along with Formula One. Everything is up. And you can't do Rich Holland a solid and, pay for a little bit more than his medical thing. Now, of course, the caveat being his contract is up. He does not work for them anymore from next week because of a workman's comp thing. He got injured on the job. So that's the only thing that's saving his ass. Unfortunately, he says he's going to be out for 6 months. Yeah. He got injured at the end of September. It's already been 6 weeks since that. So he's not even looking to get back into the ring until March, April.
Spring at the earliest.
At the earliest. And of course, he's looking at the fact of, well, what is he going to do for the next 5 months, while he's going through recovery and therapy and stuff like that to heal his foot that he had surgery on. And that would be the same thing with anybody else. If you work for the Food Network and you smash your hand and you are a stenciler and you make, intricate cake designs and you can't do that anymore for 6 months because your hand is broken, well, shit, your contract coincidentally expires with Food Networks in the next 6 months. You got injured on the job, so they pay your medical expenses to a certain point, but then what? And that's, so yes, the moral side of things would be like, you can take couch cushion money and pay Rich Holland, a little bit more than what his medical expenses would be. Okay, fine. No hard feelings. We're going to do this for you and go. They don't owe him any money because he doesn't have a contract with them. But damn. On the other half of it, his contract expired. That's just horrible timing. And they shouldn't be beholden to anything other than what he did on the job. But I also do kind of think that kind of running back to that abusive girlfriend, in this case, WWE, says a lot more about what the wrestling industry is missing. And that is just a blanket, a safety net for the talent that make the shit work. I mean, that's really what the story's about. It's about a guy who got injured on the job and his contract is expiring, which doesn't really mean anything because they've cut people for less and say stay home for 90 days. Well, he's out for 6 months. So what's 90 days? Mm-hmm. But it's about the fact that wrestlers don't have the protections that workers need. Full stop.
Yeah. We've had this discussion plenty of times.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
we'll have it plenty of times again. We'll have it plenty of times again in the future.
Yep. Right, but that has to be a thing, and it can't be just a band-aid of, oh well, wrestler X, donated $1,000, or wrestler X is wrestler Y is going to take $1,000 monthly GoFundMe hit, for that person. I mean, that's all well and good, but that's like putting Neosporin on something that you need to, to have surgery on. There has to be a serious conversation amongst the wrestlers about how to protect themselves, either by unionizing or coming to some other collective or something like that, even if it's something that they all pay into. Like, listen, we're going to set up a trust for wrestlers within this company. No, it's not a union. We will literally take just $50 out of our check, more if you want, and put it into a trust and use it as a rainy day fund, among what employees or something. It just has to be something else to fall back on, because you can say, hey, oh shit, Rich is out 6 months. Because of whatever, and he just got let go because of his contract. We're going to take 10% off the out of the wrestler's kitty from WWE and prop him up for 3 months, like a Cobra or something like that you get when you leave your job. They don't have that. And that's why Rich Holland is deciding between going to GalaxyCon and OnlyFans as his plan B and C. Like, and that's fucked up. Regardless of what you think of him, especially as it relates to Big E, especially as it, other people injuring your favorite talent, the fucked up part about it is that he has to go with his dick in his hand to WWE and say, hey, could you give me a little bit more? I'm needing.
Can you float me 6 months?
I mean, could you help? That's fucked up.
I mean, we've had this conversation about unionization so many times, and it always just comes back to, in my mind, as fans, we can talk about it all we damn want and bring it up and it should happen, all this, but it always goes back to the wrestlers themselves never make any movement on making it happen. Anytime it's ever come up, it never goes anywhere because there's just never the collective motion to get it happening. I remember a couple years back when Zelina Vega and Paige were gonna get it done, and that lasted maybe a week or two. You were hearing about it, and then that story evaporated, just like that.
Right, because it's down to the best interest for the big companies to do so. As progressive as people think that Tony Khan is, people ask Cody Rhodes, "Hey, well, what about a wrestlers union?" Ooh,
yeah. Everybody having benefits. Remember, there was all talk about that too. It's like, well, have everyone on health insurance and all this. Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's what it is, and that's so it's hard to argue against something like which is just a basic human need to protect yourself at work from life kicking you in the balls. And I'm not even talking about anything special, just a pot that you can put your a little bit of funds in to support yourself when shit goes down. Like, yeah, you got medical coverage, we can cover 10% of that. You need a lawyer, we can cover 10%, or whatever the shit is. The point is, life will come at you hard, and it will smile doing it. What do you do when that happens? Well, as a person that's in an employees union, I know who I can call. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to be a Big E or a Becky Lynch or a Roman Reigns or a Kevin Owens, who's also out injured. Nobody's going to be, everybody can't be a Seth Rollins. But also, everybody can't be, a 20-year veteran like R-Truth and just have the people just be that loved, whether or not he's, front and center or not. There's a lot more Ridge Hollands than there are, Jimmy Usos.
Yeah. Very
and
true.
That's the thing. And as you think about it, okay, fine, it's wrestling. But take football, for example. Yeah, sure, the highest selling jerseys is going to be to the people that are forward facing on your team. But also the offensive lineman play, the defensive lineman play. The kicker is his position. So is the punter. So are people in the practice squad. There has to be certain protections for these people that are prone to be injured, especially those that are more prone to be injured. There has to be something to protect them, and there isn't, and that's the part that sucks the most. Ridge Holland will pay his rent, and he will figure it out. But the fact is that the next Ridge Holland might not be able to.
Yeah, he won't be. He's not the first, and he won't be the last. It just is the nature of what it is.
Right.
All right. Well, we will see what happens with that developing story as we approach next week, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it as time goes on. Let's take our mid-show break, a little more than a mid-show break at this point. Then when we come back, we'll talk about AEW Blood and Guts next week, and who knows what else, folks. We got a little over 20 minutes left in this show, so we might have some extra time to get in some other stuff. So stay with us, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
Looking to get your brand in front of people who eat, sleep, and breathe entertainment? Big Gold Belt Media is the place to be. We're all about reporting on movies, TV shows, conventions, and everything in between. And we want your brand to be a part of the action. Partnering with us means your sponsorships get featured right in the midst of our content. Plus, we're going to hype you up on all of our social media, connecting you with an audience that loves discovering new things from trusted voices in entertainment. We're easy to find. Just look for us on Big Gold Belt on all your social media platforms. Don't wait. Reach out today and let's start building something amazing together. Your spotlight is waiting here at Big Gold Belt Media, biggoldbelt.com.
Thanks for being with us here tonight, folks, on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast here from Big Gold Belt Media. Let's talk about next week, because AEW has one of their special events. No, it's not a pay-per-view. It's a regular episode of Dynamite, but it'll be a little extra time put on. And I guess this has always just been a big episode of Dynamite in the past when they've done this one. Blood and Guts comes to Greensboro, North Carolina next Wednesday night. And the interesting part for me is the ladies are involved this time. We've had the Blood and Guts before a few times around, but as someone who has not been watching AEW regularly for some time, when I hear the ladies are involved in Blood and Guts this year, it's like, oh, I may have to tune in. You got my attention here. So let's look at the ladies' Blood and Guts lineup here. So we have on one side, Jamie Hayter, Willow Nightingale, Harley Cameron, Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, and AEW Women's Champion Chris Statlander versus the Triangle of Madness, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and Tekla, Megan Bayne, Marina Shafir, and Mercedes Moné on the other side. So that is what, six? That's 6-on-6? Yes, it's 6-on-6 instead of 5-on-5 or a 4-on-4. So that might be the biggest War Games type match there's been, because usually it's a 5-on-5 or a 4-on-4, but we're going 6-on-6 with the women. So, Crab, I'll go to you first. What are we thinking here? This is I kind of like, it's an interesting mix of talent I'm seeing for the ladies in this thing. It's kind of all over the map.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I also think that Mercedes being in it is interesting as well. The blood and gut match are usually a lot of fun on AEW. One programming note, according to TBS's schedule, they're saying that Dynamite's going to run from 8 to 10:30 on Eastern.
Bonus time, sounds like.
So you get a half an hour of bonus time for your AEW next week. Interesting. Honestly, it should be a pay-per-view. Like it really should. Hell in a Cell is a pay-per-view for WWE. We get Blood and Guts every year. There is no reason why it shouldn't just be a pay-per-view.
They do more than 4 pay-per-views a year. They do enough pay-per-views that's like you think you'd want it to anchor one of these smaller shows.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So they don't do house shows at all, and they have your Dynamites. And I think that if they I think they do 10 or 12 pay-per-views a year. I don't think it's every month, but it's enough.
10 sounds about right.
Yeah. But if they cut that to 8 and made Blood and Guts, one of your yearly pay-per-views with the stipulations being something, or championship or whatever the shit is, at least that's something that we know that we can look forward to, in the same way that we looked forward to Casino Battle Royal, or
Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah, Anarchy in the Arena.
Unique gimmick matches.
Yeah, Blood and Guts. Like, what you're getting into. Because your Full Gear is just a pay-per-view. Revolution is just a pay-per-view. But Blood and Guts is like a special event, and honestly, it just shouldn't be on TV. It's a little bit more special than that. As far as the matches goes, they're doing, of course, both the men's and women's Blood and Guts, which is another reason why it should be a pay-per-view. And then you have, it looks like Adam Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs for us Count Anywhere. So it's a total, hardcore show that's going to be dedicated, for the night. And A-okay, fine by me. I think it just elevated into pay-per-view just makes it a little bit more special. The women's Blood and Guts looks very interesting. I like the teams, and I also like the fact, like, you have Team Face versus Team Heel, but of course, Statlander and Willow being on the same team is something that's obviously there's some chemistry there and some history there. Tony Storm and Janie Hayter being on the same team, there's some history there. When you throw Mina Shigakawa in the mix because Kriya Nabanada is hurt, is a thing. And Harley Cameron, God bless her, has been absolutely just making the best of everything that she's been given. And then you have, Team Heel, which of course is cool too. I think seeing Julia Hart and Sky Blue in this match, just Mercedes, these are people that I wouldn't think would ever want to do a Blood and Guts match. Now, of course, the question is, because it's still on TV, who goes first, men or women?
I think women goes first. I think women does.
I would think so too.
And if we're all thinking for the same reason, it's because the women
open the show.
Play it safer. Because that show is going to start at 8:00. It's going to be, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be hard hitting, or it's going to be whatever. But it can't be as extreme as if the men were doing it, because America. So I think even though it's going to be a heavy match for that 45 minutes or whatever they're going to go with it, and then you have the other 45 minutes to an hour for the second match, and then a nice 15-minute squash in the middle. 15-minute squash is not really a thing, but the Falls Count match in the middle, I think that just making a pay-per-view. And that's like the reason. I think contextually, because it's on regular TV, cable, they can push the envelope, but on pay-per-view, they could burn the fucking envelope to the ground and salt it.
Oh, as we've seen, they'll bring out the aquarium again.
as we've seen. So Yeah, so there is that. I absolutely will set my DVR to well, it's no DVR, but I will set my TV to remind me that this is a thing that's happening. Good on them, and I really can't wait for this one.
Something just sells. So as I go to you, something just occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal with they're doing this like 2 weeks before War Games?
And that's
their
what that was
version of
my
War
point.
Games.
That,
like the scheduling is kind of,
Yeah, that was my point. Well, that's exactly what my point was going to be. It's very interesting because Blood and Guts has always been during the summertime. And by you crap saying like it should be some type of pay-per-view or premium live event or whatever you want to call it, because of how they're building this up and the name that it's holding with Blood and Guts, because you always get something interesting or something to talk about after the match. It's very interesting, Will, like you saying, that they booking this a couple of weeks or right around where Survivor Series War Games is. And now if you try to change your pay-per-view structure for AEW, make it similar or added to the chains, now you got your big four pay-per-views that are kind of around the calendar of WWE's big four pay-per-views. And I think this may be a landscape where I'm not sure if this would be a good move if they put it as a pay-per-view, because now you're really almost copycatting the WWE style or presentation, because now you're really not separating yourself from what makes your wrestling promotion a little bit different from WWE. So that was my point that I was going to bring up. It's very interesting this time around. They're putting it right around the corner from Survivor Series War Games.
To touch on the men's one real quick, here's the lineup for the men's one. We got Darby Allin, Roderick Strong, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Kyle O'Reilly versus the Death Riders. So John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, and Pac. So 5-on-5 there. I look at that, and I guess the thing that jumps out at me is just like, are we finally going to end the Death Riders thing? You think this might be the blow-off of like the Death Riders or as a group? They got the title off Mox finally. So it's like, we're doing War Games now, or their version of War Games, Blood and Guts. Is how much more mileage is in this Death Riders thing?
Well, unfortunately, they just took a pit stop and they got 4 new tires and half a tank of gas. And I think taking the belt off of Moxley actually gave them new life. And then you have putting the belt on Adam Page, also gives them new life because of the fact that you have the Death Riders as a unit in Blood and Guts against Team Face, the conglomeration, Darby and Roderick Strong. So from a storyline perspective, it's absolutely there, but it's also to the point of they really don't have a good heel stable that can carry an event like this into this specific pay-per-view show, but just going forward, because who would that heel stable be? The Elite, I guess, but even still, they're more of like the tweener comedy bad and not just hardcore.
Not full on
legit hate you guys.
Yeah.
So now, actually, and this is the thing that we've been saying. Getting the belt off of Moxley isn't necessarily making the Death Riders bad. Like that was a different problem, and unfortunately dragged the Death Riders down with them. But now that that's not the thing anymore, yeah, sure, let them run. I have no problem with that, and they got Pac back, which definitely gave them a shot in the arm as well. So yeah, I'm not saying that I need them to go away as a group, but they're interesting again as a group. As it's obvious that they're leading one half of the Blood and Guts match. The fact that we are not talking about the men's match being skippable because it's the Death Riders is completely indicative of Moxley losing the belt.
Yeah, it's not the complete focus of the promotion.
Not at all.
Yeah,
right. Because now it's just, well, we don't have to complain about that anymore. They can just do whatever. Yeah.
They're not the big black cloud overhanging everything. Not the belt side.
Right. Kind of like like the NWO had that run also, where it's like everything was the NWO until it wasn't. And it's like, okay, yeah, cool. That's fine. Give Horace Hogan a job. I don't mind.
It could just be a stable in the thing. All right. Well, that's next weekend. So, I mean, next Wednesday. So there you go. We'll see what's up with that. And I'm sure we can talk about that next week. All right. We got about 10 minutes left here. What else we want to get into? There's like we don't have a big show this weekend we got to hype. So
the only question in the universe that needs to be answered: how excited are you for an Eva Marie comeback?
Well, here on Big Gold Bell Podcast, we have always been the top proponents of Eva Marie and Eva Marie being part of pro wrestling. So tell me what you're seeing here, because it has been some time. And all red everything would get me excited. It's the holidays. We are heading into the holiday season, so the timing feels right. Tell me what's up with Miss Eva Marie.
So she did the podcast Unwrapped with Daria and Tony Baronato. And she was their guest. You can check that episode out on YouTube. And flat out, she was just asked if she will return to WWE and if that's something that she would be on the lookout for. And she said, and I quote, I mean, always. I always keep the door open just because it would be silly not to, you know? And I love performing. There's nothing like it. If you want to talk about the drugs and alcohol, that's the biggest high. You see it in the superstars. They can't let it go, Rich Holland. They sometimes it seems like, hey, you should retire, but you can't find that high anywhere else. Drugs and I'm not performing, not drugs and alcohol. It's not replaceable. The WWE universe has the best fans. They're crazier than ever, but they're loyal too. So to be able to walk out with 100,000 people in an arena, where are you going to get that? And 100%, I 100% agree. Where do we start the change.org petition to get Eva Marie back in the WWE ring where she belongs?
Keep her away. Now,
main roster or NXT? Does she go back to NXT? Have her on the CW?
She's challenging Roma for the Ula Fala. That's what yeah. I mean, she's my tribal chief, damn it. But realistically, that would be interesting because, of course, she's been gone for so long that, much like with AJ Lee, there's like a generation of people that may have never heard of her.
Very good point.
Is this a chance to like legit start over with a new fan base? But then again, has she grown? She's only gotten older. Has she gotten better at all? Is she training? It would be interesting to see what would happen if she were actually serious about coming back. We've talked about comebacks before. We've talked about what that looks like and who's doing things in other places that would warrant a comeback to WWE, Chris Jericho. Yeah. But it's like, well, we haven't really heard from her at all. Or what she's been doing.
Indies ever.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen her at an indie show.
No.
Right. So it's like, what would a comeback look like? And I think that's probably the most interesting thing. They don't need her. I think the women's division is definitely pretty damn solid right now on the main roster and in NXT. And there is more of the likelihood that she would come back in a Brie Bella, a Nikki Bella kind of a way, and not in the Trish Stratus kind of a way. So,
what about Blake Monroe type of way?
Well, we have Blake Monroe at home. Her name is Tiffany Stratton.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of a thing too. So it's just like, do we need Red Monroe or I don't know. I like to see it. I think it's interesting, but also, so since Eva Marie is coming back, I'm seeing workout videos. I am. He's in the gym. He's getting it done. Full cardio, strength and conditioning. Though it hasn't been officially said, Ric Flair won't stop posting his workout videos at 76 years old.
He's going to bring P90X back. He's going to be bringing P90X back.
Oh God. Well, he's going to need to borrow a knee brace from Jay Lethal in a minute, but I'm just saying. 76, he's still getting it done. Does Ric Flair have one more match in him?
No.
Oh, he thinks he does.
He thinks he does.
He thinks he does. According to him, he's got more than one match left in him.
Oh,
I'm sure Flair, if it was up to him, oh my God, he would be in DC next month to be John Cena's final opponent.
Yep.
He would be the one
taking
out Cena. If it was up to him, absolutely. he'd be entering this tournament they're doing for Cena's opponent.
The only thing that I would say is that, and the only reason why I bring it up is because WrestleMania is going to happen in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen Ric Flair's last match. WWE hasn't. Like he's had a last match in WWE. That just means
retirement.
That done. But we haven't seen WWE hasn't. And if he hasn't retired in WWE, then he hasn't retired. And WrestleMania is 2 years away in Saudi Arabia. They're trying to make it the biggest WrestleMania ever. And when I see that he's trying to get into the habit of getting this cardio and this, he's got a strength and conditioning guy, and he's selling those damn energy drinks. I'm thinking, well, there's one thing to work out at 76, and there's another thing to train.
Yeah.
And Ric Flair in these videos looks like he's training.
And he's got till 2027 to make it happen.
Till 2027, that year and a half, 18 months. He got a 2027 to be on a plane in Riyadh for his retirement match.
Please don't. 2.0 retirement.
No. Because it didn't happen in WWE.
Yeah.
So if it didn't happen there, it didn't happen.
I got you.
When he passed out and died for 4 minutes with Andrade by his side, that never happened in WWE. Don't look it up. It doesn't exist. That never happened.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, if you heard it here first.
No. Yeah.
He's got to make it to 2027. And Lord knows, we've said as soon as that WrestleMania was announced for Saudi in 2027, the word's out. The payday will be there for any big names that want on that show. So the Crown Prince is going to open the checkbook because they are planning on that as the biggest WrestleMania as far as spectacle ever.
I mean, it would be a hell of a Netflix documentary if they started to get the cameras rolling. His progress.
Rebuild Ric Flair.
It writes itself. Copyright that, Will. Trademark, patent pending.
Rebuild Ric Flair.
Oh, no.
Stranger things have happened.
All right, another thing we will stay tuned to. All right, let's go into our home stretch here so we can hit some entertainment stuff at the end of the show here. All right, folks, every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast is streaming live on YouTube, over on X, on Twitch, you name it. We are streaming live, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for being with us here tonight. If you came in late, the feed lives on after the fact on the Big Gold Belt Media YouTube channel. So we have the video version up there that's currently happening right now. And we also have the audio version. So if you're just looking for audio, we also have that on the YouTube channel. On social media, you can find us at Big Gold Belt across the board, whether we're talking Instagram, X, Threads, Blue Sky, you name it, at Big Gold Belt is where you can find us. And last but not least, BigGoldBelt.com, the home of Big Gold Belt media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. As we head into November now, what we got coming up, Crab? What we got as far as the movies and entertainment this week?
So we are a couple of days removed from Halloween, which means that we are already late for Christmas. How dare you?
The holiday season's in full effect.
Yeah, holiday season's in full effect, and there are a smattering of holiday movies coming out this weekend. None of them look very good, but if you really want to get into the spirit, 'tis the season. So there are some holiday movies coming out. Unexpected Christmas is one of them, but it looks good. One movie that I'm really interested in seeing. It's called It Was Just an Accident. It's an Iranian movie made by this Iranian filmmaker in secret because the government would literally lock his ass up for making this movie. But basically, this dude who went to jail for anything, for whatever, because it's Iran. One of the prison guards just whooped his ass for as long as he was in jail. And once dude gets out of jail, he thinks he runs into this prison guard. And things take a turn for the worse for everyone involved. It was just an accident. So made a lot of buzz on the festival circuit late last year, early this year. But it's definitely one of the things that's going to be highly publicized. I'm very interested in seeing it. The big movie-ish this weekend, of course, is Predators Badland.
Mhm.
If you need another one of those, that's an IMAX for you this weekend. There's a couple Christmas movies out. All is Merry and Bright. Yep. And then Unexpected Christmas, the black version of that with Little Ray Howery. Sure. Sarah's Oil is a movie that's interesting. Sarah is 11 years old. Sarah lives in like either Texas or Oklahoma way back in the pioneer days. And Sarah realizes that her front lawn is sweating black stuff.
Uh-oh.
Exactly. So once she realizes that there's oil underneath her feet, all of the wolves come out to try to swindle this 11-year-old girl out of her oil deposit. So based on a true story, also seems interesting. Sydney Sweeney has a new movie called Christie about the boxer that's out this weekend. Jennifer Lawrence is back in theaters for the first time in what really seems like forever.
Yeah.
With Di, My Love, her and Robert Pattinson. Fragile Woman, losing it. Yeah, that type of thing. The last movie that I just stumbled across, If I Had Legs, I Could Kick You. If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You. Seems interesting where this woman's life is just absolutely unraveling and she has to manage it all. Her job, her relationship, her kids. It's all coming apart at the seams. And what does she do? So really, really interesting stuff there. So a lot of different things out in the movie. There's a couple of Chinese movies that are very interesting. There's a French movie called Little Amelie, or The Character of the Rain, about this little girl that gets swept up and like lost in a rainstorm. There's a lot of stuff out, so you're gonna have to do some digging this week. But
you have options.
You got options. It's a bunch of options as we transition from spooky movie season to festive holiday movie season.
Sellers, you want to add anything before I wrap it up?
No. Nothing that's new on my end. I would just say I'm just anticipating to see, like Crab said, I'm going back to the beginning. After we go through this next month for the Saturday night main event and see how this last match comes in, I'm very interested to see how this tournament is going to be building up. Will we see some surprise people, even if there's not going to be in that last match? But I'm just really interested to see how they're going to build for that. They got my intrigue on that, but that's basically it.
Yeah, AEW unveiled the national championship, which made me immediately think of NWA. So, but apparently they're not related. So, does AEW need another belt? Is something that we're going to talk about in the future.
Yeah, things we can talk about next week. The John Cena tournament, the national championship from AEW, all that good stuff. Always stuff happening in wrestling. We got a couple weeks still to Survivor Series in full gear. So, I like when we have this time for the extra topics. We're not so news heavy. So we'll have plenty of stuff to get into. So next week, folks, Thursday night, 8 p.m., be back here to join us. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff so you'll know when we go live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks very much for joining us. See you next week. Watch some wrestling, and we will talk to you later.